Hi, Catch Up Crew. Hi, Trish.
Hi. So I have an excessive amount of poems for today. So whenever we have a break and need one, I'm sure many of us do, mind you.
I mean, I brought 4 books, which all have an entire section on death.
I don't think we're going to
Plus
be
some
short.
other books.
Also, do we have like a formal host for today?
I think we just have lots of enthusiasm.
Cool.
Mhm.
Works.
Yeah, I think we can self-run pretty well for this one. Especially considering how much death poetry we all have.
I feel like everyone's got loads, so you could probably just like take it in turns.
Yeah.
Yeah. How are you folks doing?
Neither of us are very well.
That's true.
I
have mild cold symptoms, but have gone and got a COVID test and will not go out again till I get the result back. Because annoyingly, a mild cold is the same symptoms as COVID, and now I'm just paranoid. So, I mean, I feel fine. I've done a workout and practiced handstands. Like, I'm not on death's door. I've got a sore throat and I'm a bit snuffly.
For sure. And it's one of those things that I'd rather be safe than sorry about. So I totally get that. That sucks. I hope that you find out soon so that touch of anxiety can go away.
Yeah. At least then I know what I'm doing. I'm meant to be seeing my parents at the weekend, and like either I'm isolating or I'm seeing my parents, right? So we'll see. Hi, Andrada. Secret Andrada.
What's going on with you, Katie?
I might have food poisoning or I might have a stomach bug.
Mm.
Nick has been sick. I have not. He now feels better than me, but I still think he probably has the worst deal.
Yeah. Well, that sucks. I'm sorry you're all stuck feeling sick.
Yeah.
I'm just
That's the right time to talk
tired and
about death.
grumpy. Yeah. Fine. It's a good time to wallow in it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. How has everything been? Are you folks going to be changing anything you're doing now that stuff's opening up more, or no?
I mean, we're currently staying with Nick's parents, which we wouldn't do otherwise.
Ah, sweet. Well, I'm glad you're able to visit Nick's parents.
I think
he looked different.
With things opening up more, I no longer feel comfortable with indoor hospitality in England. So I'll be not doing that if I do end up going down to England, and sort of being like, if we go out, can we sit outside? Which is the kind of weird thing about the restrictions lifting, is that half of people seem like they're just going to go for it, and the other half of us are like, I don't really want to be inside if there's no social distancing or masks. So, but Scotland, not a huge amount has changed here. I don't even know what's changed other than pubs can open a bit later.
Social distancing's gone.
In Scotland, I didn't think social distancing was gone indoors. Is it? I thought social distancing was gone outdoors.
We had to change the guidance, which we just published, to remove all mentions of 2 meter physical distancing. So,
hi, Daryl.
Hello.
Well, that sounds both annoying and a bit scary.
I thought it was 1 meter inside and not required outside between your group of people that's meeting, but it is required from strangers. But honestly, if Katie, you don't know, like nobody knows.
At least we still have the masks.
Yeah.
Oh wait, and is that Scotland?
Yeah.
Yep.
Man, already just today I saw so many fewer people wear masks.
Oh really?
Yeah. Like in shops and stuff. I had to top up our gas card thing, and I went to 3 different shops and only one of the shopkeepers was wearing a mask, and like barely any of the people who shopping there did. It was like really just the
Ugh.
Mm.
Sad
I'm
times.
sorry, that's fucking stressful.
yeah.
So the official website says that you don't have to social distance from your group of pals that you're meeting with, but you have to stay at least 1 meter away from all strangers.
Cool. That's what I thought the rules were. I think. I don't know. Anyway, this is a helpful PSA now. We're
But you
looked
can
up
do
the rules.
contact sports?
I'll just have my
Like,
Contact sports have been back for a while.
yeah.
huh. Okay.
It still doesn't make sense, but okay.
No, it doesn't make sense.
At no point has it made sense. At no
Yeah.
point has it been consistent in a
No.
this is where the risk line is.
Yeah.
Except when we were in lockdown.
Except when we're in lockdown. That was almost easier because at least I knew what the rules were then. Yeah.
That's a fucking pain. I know that they changed ours so that people with vaccination cards can now do more, but I don't know what a lot of those things are because I don't think it's really gonna change what I'm doing at all.
Yeah, I think that's the thing at the moment. Everyone's sort of got to their comfort zone of making decisions because the rules haven't made any sense. Like everyone's had to make their own risk assessment. So yeah, it does suck if people now just don't care about the things, especially if that's changed in Scotland, because masks are definitely still a thing. Although actually at our local corner shop, the staff are bad at wearing them. I try not to go there.
Shall we start reading about death?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Yes, to cheer the conversation off a bit.
Absolutely. Well, I could start with a very uplifting poem about death.
Sounds good.
Can you hear the kettle? Is that annoying?
No.
So this is High Flight by John Gillespie Maggie Jr. Oh, I have split the surly bonds of earth and danced the skies on laughter-silvered wings. Sunward I've climbed and joined the tumbling mirth of sun-split clouds and done 100 things you have not dreamed of. Wheeled and soared and swung, high in the sunlit silence, hovering there. I've chased the shouting wind along and flung my eager craft through footless halls of air. Up, up, the long, delirious, burning blue. I've topped the windswept heights with easy grace, where never lark or even eagle flew. And, while with silent, lifting mind I trod the high, untrespassed sanctity of space, put out my hand and touched the face of God.
That is an uplifting one about death.
Does anyone have one that could go after that one?
If not, I have another uplifting one.
I think we should save some uplifting, mind you, to stagger in between really fucking sad and stuff.
That might also be a good plan.
I've got one that could sort of follow on and ease us into slightly more deathy without being like a brutal tone shift.
Go for
Sounds
it.
good.
It's by Holly McNish and it's called Fill Your Basket. And it's for Violet. Only so long bones will be covered by muscle, muscle covered by flesh. Only so long limbs will be able to stretch, ears and throat fill up with song. Only so long skin will be able to hold a hug, a kiss, a caress. Till then, Let us cram these baskets of body with what life we are lucky to get.
Oh,
That's beautiful.
That is beautiful. It reminds me of one that I need to go track down. I do have another one that talks about stretching body parts / raising body parts, but it's a drastic tone shift in terms of seriousness. So if you want something else after that, that is okay. And if not, we can start getting super sad.
I have one about biscuits. Biscuits.
Nice.
It's called The Taste of a Biscuit, and it is by A.F. Harold. I remembered how I used to play with my mum. As a kid, in the kitchen, we would bake together. Now, though she's gone, and although I'm grown up and can care for myself, can cook for myself, although I don't need her to wash my hair or buy my clothes or hold my hand as I cross the road, still, it was nice to know she was always there, just in case. Looking through her drawers after she died, I found buried down, tucked away at one side, a little plastic thing shaped like a star that I hadn't seen for 20 years or more, that we used to cut biscuits from rolled out dough. And it was just this that I remember today, while chatting with friends about other things, as if I took a cookie to dunk in my tea. It was as if the memory crept up on me, and sadness came along hand in hand and hugged me. Comes with a picture.
No.
What collection is that, Katie?
This is Poems to Fall in Love With.
It's so pretty.
I don't think I can totally devastate you with the other one after that, but do you want another parental loss one that's quite?
Sure, let's go for some parental loss.
I got a
Oh,
parental
dear.
loss. It's not as sad as the other one. The other one was about the Pulse nightclub shooting. So like, it's just one of my favorite death poems, but is also devastating. But yeah, this one is not that poem, however. This is Phobia of Red by Sharon Olds. Claret, burgundy, ruby, cherry, hellebore, cardinal, heliotrope, cerise, maroon, gridolin, carmine, vermilion, magenta, scarlet, puce, beet, brick, flame, wine. It took me only 50 years to know why I feared those colors. It was just a single evening when I looked to where my father's face usually was, to the left of his neck after he'd gone to the living room and passed out on the couch. And I saw a red, saw a rumpled, sanguine mask, furrowed as if harrowed, the inside showing on the outside, the treasure taken from its bank and squandered. I didn't yet know he had gone outside and wandered and fallen down some concrete stairs. I just saw, for a moment, for the last time, the beauty of our species' favorite color, and the beauty shone about, silky and glossy, like the light of the last sight of a loved face before one dies. And then it went out.
Oof.
This was the less devastating one. Sorry, y'all. I have a lot of quite sad death poems. I have pretty ones too. They're not all devastating, but
We know what we signed up for by coming
yeah.
to the death-themed poetry night.
yeah, let's.
Yeah.
Andy and Daru, did you two want to read things today?
I didn't bring anything.
And
I
Rory
have-
and Bracken are running late, by the way. Bracken will have a quote and Rory has a poem. Sorry, Andy.
Oh no, I just said I have poems. But I
I
don't know
also-
what fits.
I have an absolutely devastating poem which I am not qualified to read, but I have put a link in the chat and you should definitely all listen to.
I've got another color-related parental loss poem.
Yay!
Yay! It's by Liz Lockhurst. It's called Sorting Through. The moment she died, my mother's dance dresses turned from the colors they really were to the colors I imagined them to be. I can feel the weight of bump-toed silver shoes swinging from their ankle straps as she swaggers up the path towards her dad, light-headed from airman's kisses. Here at what I'll have to learn to call my father's house. Yes, every ragbag scrap of duster prints her even more vivid than an Ilford snapshot on some seafront in a white cardigan and that exact frock. Old lipsticks, liquid stockings, labels like Harella, Gore, Berkatex. As I manhandle whole outfits into bin bags from Oxfam, every mote in my eye is a utility mark. And this is useful. The sadness of dispossessed dresses, the decency of good coats round-shouldered in the darkness of wardrobes, the gravitas of lapels, the invisible danders of skin fizzing off from them, like all that life will not neatly end.
Oh, I love that last line.
There's luck.
Ugh.
Anyone next?
I have one about stillbirth.
Oh, I was gonna go for getting dressed up for a funeral, but yeah, let's go to dead babies.
Is everyone okay with this? Oh. It's very beautiful. This is Stillborn by Nina Bogan. The stillborn have no claim on this world. They are quiet and distant, taking care of themselves, perfect as seashells, as starfish navigating point by point along the shallows, as the smallest seahorses grazing in the sand. They have nothing in common with death. No, it's as if a path has been traced for them across a clean beach, with footprints ready for them to fall in step, to walk into the dazzling wind of their lives. And when they turned back, remained crustacean. Slowly the footprints unmade themselves, each grain of sand, one after the other, tumbled back into the sea.
Oh, the footprints made them. I have a dead child one too. That's also quite pretty. This is by
I
Danusha.
have a similar one. You go
Ooh, do
first.
you want-
I'll find mine.
This is by Danusha Lamaris. It's called Working in the Garden. I think of my son, who is nothing now, but a few fistfuls of ash. Not even that, since ash dissolves and is taken into the bodies of plants or swept into the air on the wind. He's so very fine, he slips undetected through a whale's baleen or a beetle's gullet. He can even rise through a stalk of grass with the upward pull of fallen in those days of spring. He has no use now for the soft, black hair through which I would run a slender comb, nor for his oddly shaped thumbs, nor anything in this world. Though the things of the world may have use of him, his molecules filtering through them, carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, a whisper of hydrogen, the modest building blocks of life, quietly and without announcement.
I always love the going back to the elements and your constituent parts sort of idea of death, because I don't have any religion or like belief in the afterlife or anything, so I like the idea that you become like just part of the world again in this totally different way.
Me too. I love that. I think you'd like quite a few of the death poems in here. She gets into that quite a bit. I think that's one of that I wrote down.
And Andy?
Yeah, mine is tiny. And it's called I Loved the Boy by William Wordsworth. I loved the boy with the utmost love of which my soul is capable, and he is taken from me. Yet in the agony of my spirit in surrendering such a treasure, I feel 1,000 times richer than if I had never possessed it. That's it.
I have a nearly death one that might follow and maybe move us on a little bit. It's by Ellen Bryant Voigt, and it's called Daughter. There is one grief worse than any other. When your small, feverish throat clogged and quit, I knelt beside the chair on the green rug and shook you, but the only sound was mine shouting you back. The delicate curls at your temples, the blue wool blanket, your face blue, your jaw clamped against remedy. How could I put a knife to that white neck? With you in my lap, my hands fluttering like flags, I bend instead over your dead weight to administer a kiss so urgent, so ruthless, pumping breath into your stilled body, counting out the rhythm for how long until the second birth, the second cry. Oh Jesus, that sudden noisy musical inhalation that leaves me stunned by your survival.
I have one from Life to Death, sort of, by Edwin Morgan. It's called Epilogue, 7 Decades. At 10, I read Mayakovsky had died, learned my first word of Russian, Lublю. Watched my English teacher poke his earwax with a well-chewed HB and get the class to join his easy mocking of my essay, where I'd used verdant herbage for green grass. So he was right. So I hated him. And he was not really right, the ass. A writer knows what he needs, as came to pass. At 20, I got marching orders, kit bag, farewell to love, not arms, though our sole arms were stretchers. A freezing Glentress winter where I was coaxing sticks at 6 to get a stove hot for the cooks. Found myself picked quartermaster's clerk. This one seems a bit less gormless than the bloody others. Did gas drill in the stinging tent, met Tam McSherry who farted at will a musical set. At 30, I thought life had passed me by, translated Beowulf for want of love. And one night stands in city centre lanes, they were dark in those days, were wild but bleak. Sidney Graham in London said, "You know, I always thought so. Kiss me on the cheek." And I translated Rilke's loneliness is like a rain, and week after week after week, strained to unbind myself, sweated to speak. At 40, I woke up, saw it was day, found there was love, heard a new beat, heard beats, sent airmail solidarity to Sao Paulo's poetic concrete revolution. New Glasgow, what? New Glasgow knew, somehow, knew with me, with John, with Cranes, diffusion of another concrete revolution. Not bad, not good, but new. And new was no illusion, a spring of words, a slowing, an ablution. At 50, I began to have bad dreams of Palestine and saw bad things to come, began to write my long unwritten war. I was 100-handed Sinbad then, rolled and unrolled carpets of blood and love, raised tents of pain, made the dust into men and laid the dust with men. I supervised a thesis on Doughty, that great Englishman who brought all Arabia back in his hard pen. At 60, I was standing by a grave. The winds of Lanarkshire were loud and high. I knew what I had lost, what I had had. The East had schooled me about fate, but still, it was the hardest time. Oh, more, it was the worst of times in self-reproach. The will that failed to act, the mass of good not done. Forgiveness must be like the springs that fill deserted furrows until, if they wait, until at 70 I thought I had come through, like parting a bead curtain in Port Said, to something that was shadowy before, figures and voices of late times that might be surprising yet. The beads clash faintly behind me as I go forward. No candlelight, please keep that for Europe. Switch the whole thing right on. When I go, I want it bright. When I go in, I want it bright. I want to catch whatever is there in full sight.
I love that. Edwin Morgan's so fucking good.
I have another one about living before you die.
Cool. I have one about living through somebody else being dead, so I feel like that could go well after yours, Katie.
Cool. This is, I haven't even checked who it was by. This is by Rupert Brooke, and it's called The Great Lover. I have been so great a lover, filled my days so proudly with the splendor of love's praise, the pain, the calm, and the astonishment, desire illimitable and still content, and all dear names men use to cheat despair for the perplexed and viewless streams that bear our hearts at random down the dark of life. Now, ere the unthinking silence on that strife steals down, I would cheat drowsy death so far. My night shall be remembered for a star that outshone all the suns of all men's days. Shall I not crown them with immortal praise, whom I have loved, who have given me, dared with me high secrets, and in darkness knelt to see the inernable Godhead of delight? Love is a flame. We have beaconed the world's night, a city, and we have built it, those and I, an emperor. We have taught the world to die. So for their sakes I loved, ere I go hence, and the high cause of love's magnificence. And to keep those loyalties young, I'll write these names, golden forever, eagles crying flames, and set them as a banner that men may know, to dare the generations burn and blow, out on the wind of time, shining and streaming. These I have loved, white plates and cups, clean gleaming, ringed with blue lines and feathery fairy dust. Wet roofs beneath the lamp, the strong crust of friendly bread and many tasting food. Rainbows and the blue better smoke of wood, and radiant raindrops couching in cool flowers, and flowers themselves that sway through sunny hours, dreaming of moths that drink them under the moon. Then the cool kindliness of sheets that soon smooth away trouble, and the rough male kiss of blankets, grainy wood, live hair that is shining and free, blue massing clouds, the keen, unpatterned beauty of a great machine, the benison of hot water, furs to touch, the good smell of old clothes and other such, the comfortable smell of friendly fingers, hair's fragrance, and the musty reek that lingers about dead leaves and last year's ferns. Dear names, and thousand other throng to me, royal flames, sweet water's dimpling laugh from tap to spring, holes in the ground and voices that do sing, voices and laughter too, and body's pain soon turn to peace, and the deep panting train, firm sands, the little dulling edge of foam that browns and dwindles as the wave goes home, and washing stones gay for an hour, the cold graveness of iron, moist black earth and mould, sleep, and high places, footprints in the dew, and oaks and brown horse chestnuts glossy new, and new peeled sticks, and shining pools on grass. All these have been my loves, and these shall pass. Whatever passes not in the great hour, nor all my passion, all my prayers have power to hold them with me through the gates of death. They'll play deserter, turn with the traitor breath, break the high bond we made, and sell love's trust and sacramental covenant to the dust. Oh, never a doubt, but somewhere I shall wake and give what's left of love again, and make new friends, now strangers. But the best I've known stays here and changes, breaks, grows old, is blown about the winds of the world, and fades from brains of living men and dies. Nothing remains. Oh dear, my loves, oh faithless, once again, this last gift I give, that after men shall know, and later lovers far removed, praise ye. All these were lovely. Say he loved.
Oh,
Hey Rory.
Hey, Bracken, Rory.
hello.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Sorry to interrupt.
No. You came in on one of the good ones.
Yeah, that was
Uplifting.
beautiful. Thank you.
Oh,
How you guys?
Katie, what was?
Oh, how are you guys all doing? Sorry.
Good?
Good.
You having some feelings? Yeah.
It's a weird one to curate as like we're sort of going it. We're like, I have another like parental death poem. Like that would follow on nicely from your parental death poem. And that feels a little bit weird, but it is very nice. There has been lots of beautiful poems.
I have one that ends on a similar hopeful note to Katie's, even if it starts a lot sadder than Katie's. For me, the like loving on after loved ones die kind of vibe. Andy, do you want to do your other one that's living before dying after that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay, cool. Sweet. This is one of my favorite poems about death. It also is Megan Falley's favorite poem of all time, potentially. It's one of her absolute favorites. So, you know, if you like her work, that's a fun fact. This is Cambridge Elegy by Sharon Olds. And it's about her first love. It's side by side in a book with another poem called First Love, but I'm going to read you this one alone in the interest of time because I like it better. It's about someone who passed away when she was in college. I hardly know how to speak to you now. You are so young now, closer to my daughter's age than mine. But I've been there and seen it, and must tell you, as the seeing and hearing spell the world into the deaf mute's hand, the tiny dormer windows, like the ears of a fox, like the long row of teats on a peg, still perk up over the square, though they're digging up the street now, as if digging a grave, the shovels shrieking on stone like your car, sliding along its roof after the crash. How I wanted everyone to die if you had to die. How sealed into my own world I was, deaf and blind. What can I tell you now? Now that I know so much and you are a freshman still, drinking a quart of orange juice and playing 3 sets of tennis to cure a hangover. Such an ardent student of the grown-ups. I can tell you, we were right. Our bodies were right. Life was pleasurable in every cell. Suddenly, I remember the exact look of your body, but better than the bright corners of your eyes, or the puppy fat of your thighs, or the slick chino of your pants bright in the corner of my eyes. I remember your extraordinary act of courage in loving me, something no one but the blind and halt had done before. You were fearless. You could drive after a sleepless night, just like a grown-up, and not be afraid. You could fall asleep at the wheel easily and never know it. Each blonde hair of your head, and they were thickly laid, put out like a filament of light 20 years ago. The Charles still slides by with that ease as your death was hard. Wanted all things broken and rigid as the bricks in the sidewalk, or your love for me stopped cell by cell in your young body. Ave, I went ahead and had the children, the life of ease and faithfulness, the palm and the breast, every millimeter of delight in the body. I took the road we stood on at the start together. I took it all without you, as if in taking it, after all, I could most honor you.
That was beautiful.
Mhm.
She does such great quick turning points. I want to learn that. I want to like read a bunch of her poems and study how she changes the mood. Anyways, Andy.
Yeah. This is When Death Comes by Mary Oliver. When death comes like the hungry bear in autumn, when death comes and takes all the bright coins from his purse to buy me and snaps the purse shut, when death comes like the measles pox, when death comes like an iceberg between the shoulder blades, I want to step through the door full of curiosity, wondering, what is it going to be like, that cottage of darkness? And therefore I look upon everything as a brotherhood and a sisterhood. And I look upon time as no more than an idea. And I consider eternity as another possibility. And I think of each life as a flower, as common as a field daisy, and as singular, and each name a comfortable music in the mouth, tending as all music does towards silence, and each body a lion of courage and something precious to the earth. When it's over, I want to say, All my life, I was a bride married to amazement. I was the bridegroom taking the world into my arms. When it's over, I don't want to wonder if I have made of my life something particular and real. I don't want to find myself sighing and frightened or full of argument. I don't want to end up simply having visited this world. Yep, that's it. Bit of an abrupt ending there.
I quite like that. It feels like real life has abrupt endings in strange places, you know?
That is true.
Like death.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of abrupt, if people are up for it and want an abrupt tone change after other people have had more of a chance to read, I would love to read Andrea Gibson's poem about the Pulse nightclub shooting, but I also completely get if that is the kind of topic that people are not up for because it is a heavy piece. So yes, keep that in mind. It also has some semi-graphic depictions of violence. So I'll let other people read a couple poems and then I'll check in. And if you don't want me to, just pop it in the chat.
You can always put it in the chat along with my poem about the Dunblane shooting.
Oh shit, I missed one about the Dunblane shooting.
No, I didn't read it. I posted a video of my friend reading it because it was about her sister. So.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Oof.
Can you, like, I can't, the chat doesn't go back that far for me. Can you just, like, PM me that?
Sure.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Bracken, did you have one to read?
Yeah, I have a poem. I think Rory has a poem as well. Rory, what's your poem, babe?
Spiritual death.
Spiritual death.
It's okay if it doesn't feel like a good fit.
It doesn't love a bit of spiritual death.
And like racism.
As in death in a spiritual way or death of the spirit?
Both.
I think that sounds about like it fits.
I have one that is less. I have a couple, actually. I have one that is less depressing that I could do now if you want.
Yeah.
Okay. It's called A Very Private Conversation by Pat Bothwick. Surrounded by a summer sea of sky and as many shades of green as years of history, I am content to lie back on this fringed scarp and speak to God. I tell him that here, in the crooked arm of the valley, quiet with grasshoppers and curlew, the prattle of quaking grass, I'm unafraid of the past, weighted with death, unafraid of dying here. How I hope the crows will profit from my flesh and leave my bones gleaming in chalk and flint, that I could invite death to come now. But how, I will not write this poem until tomorrow. Okay.
That was fucking metal.
It was fucking metal. It was extremely metal.
That was fucking metal. Shit.
I like that. Until tomorrow.
Until tomorrow.
I have one that could follow that, which is called Let Me Die a Young Man's Death. Yeah? Let me die a young man's death, not a clean and in between the sheets holy water death, not a famous last words peaceful out of breath death. When I'm 73 and in constant good tumour, may I be mown down at dawn by a bright red sports car on my way home from an all-night party. Or when I'm 91 with silver hair and sitting in a barber's chair, may rival gangsters with ham-fisted Tommy guns burst in and give me a short back and insides. Or when I'm 104 and banned from the cavern, may my mistress, catching me in bed with her daughter and fearing for her son, cut me up into little pieces and throw away every piece but one. Let me die a young man's death, not a free from sin tiptoe in, candle wax and waning death. Not a curtains drawn by angels born, what a nice way to go, death.
I love that. That's so cool.
I'm Johnny Knoxville. Welcome to Jack.
Oh man, we just came back from watching Black Widow in the cinema, and one of the characters is like, "Oh, that looks like a cool way to die," like all the way through. Like,
And then at a certain point, it's like, oh man, this is a shitty way to die.
That poem reminds me of the one with the voices.
The voices?
Who was your poem written by?
Robert McGough.
Oh,
I think it's
is it him? I know which
Roger
one you're
McGough or Robert McGough?
Pardon?
Did you say Roger or Robert?
I said Robert, but I might have meant Roger. Let me check.
It definitely sounded like Roger McGough. Like he does a lot of
It was Roger, you're right.
hey,
look at you! You're so cultured.
all literary shit.
Oh, Rory.
Shucks.
now the poem I was thinking about is called Voice, and it's by Anne Sansom, and I read it a bunch of times, or we read it a bunch of times together at poetry before. But yeah, it was the same sort of structure pattern.
Yeah.
I could read I'm Sorry, I'm Still in Love with My Grandmother to follow that, which is a Claire Askew one. About someone who definitely lived. I'm sorry, I'm still in love with my grandmother. Creature in curlers who never scoured the pans to your liking, who collected the milk off the step in her slip and stockings at 70, who'd take off her shoe, stiletto or slipper, to scalp an unruly dog. I'm sorry, I'm still in love. With my grandmother, everything was done to extremes. The Christmas puddings flooded with brandy, the flames she kindled a kimonoed malach, cigarettes, their spent ends strewn from sink to sofa, the stove with its soup, and the grate with a fresh glow at 5 a.m. The house always hot as hell. I'm sorry, I'm still in love with my grandmother, having been plied with shortbread and sausage meat sandwiches, too small to know better. I was seduced by the photo albums, the jewelry box, by the sweet shop, the swing parks, the shopping center. She had so many strategies. I'm sorry, I'm still. In love with my grandmother is a strange place to be, with a slew of soil between us now, and only her smoke from that final, brilliant fire in the sky overhead.
Holy shit!
I love that.
Oh, I fucking love that so much.
Who was that?
Claire Askew.
Askew. I'm not sure. I've definitely read her stuff, some of her stuff before. Oh, she wrote the To Wakefield one, about how filthy Wakefield is.
It's true.
I think one of my funeral ones can work after this.
I was gonna see if folks were going super sad and stuff, but if you have one that works for after it, do it. And if someone has a nice one to do after my super sad one.
Wait. This one's a bit funny. A bit humorous about a funeral. It's called My Funeral by Wendy Cope. I hope I can trust you, friends, not to use our relationship as an excuse for an unsolicited ego trip. I have seen enough of them at funerals and they make me cross. At this one, though deceased, I aim to be the boss. If you are asked to talk about me for 5 minutes, please do not go on for 8. There is a strict timetable at the crematorium and nobody wants to be late. If invited to read a poem, just read the bloody poem. If requested to sing a song, just sing it and as suggested, and don't say anything. Though I will not be there, glancing pointedly at my watch and fixing the speaker with a malevolent stare, remember that this was how I always reacted when I felt that anybody's speech, sermon, or poetry reading was becoming too protracted. Yes, I was impatient and intolerant, and not always polite. And if there aren't many people at my funeral, it will serve me right.
Oh my God, Andy, can you read that at my funeral?
Sure.
Don't editorialize. Don't you fucking dare.
It would be really, really funny if you did like a 5-minute speech immediately afterwards.
And then sang a song.
Launch into Amazing Grace. Thanks, Andy. That would be great. The Mariah Carey version of Amazing Grace. Yeah.
Just putting like notes into every single battle.
We up for some depressing fucking poetry? Larry?
Do it.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, everyone's okay with me reading the one about Pulse?
Yep.
All right, this one is my favorite poem about death. I think this is like my #1 death poem potentially. And if you want to cry while listening to it again later, there's a video of her or of Mary Lambert singing the "She Keeps Me Warm" song with Andrea Gibson reading it, and it's amazing and devastating. So if you want to cry more later, hit me up. This is Orlando. When the first responders entered the Pulse nightclub after the massacre in Orlando, they walked through the horrific scene of bodies and called out, "If you are alive, raise your hand." I was sleeping in a hotel in the Midwest at the time, but I imagine in that exact moment, my hand twitched in my sleep, some unconscious part of me aware that I had a pulse, that I was alive. The next day, I woke to the news that an assault rifle had fired 202 bullets through a gay bar on Latin night in one of the worst massacres in US history, a massacre of people who did not leave the dance floor when they heard gunshots because they thought they were just the beats of the song. Everyone around me spent that day grieving, and every tear tasted like dance sweat drying in the morgue. Later that night, I was performing for an audience that had spent 2 hours in line waiting to get through bag checks and metal detectors. On stage, I couldn't keep my hand from covering my heart, kept searching the club for the fastest route to every exit. I knew the person working security was in a text war and wasn't keeping his eyes on the door. I know there was a man in the 5th row picking at the seams of a red duffel bag. Every few seconds, I'd eye the balcony for the glint of whatever might aim to tear the bodies off the boys holding hands or the girls with the haircuts short as my temper when rage is a decibel I can actually get to when I'm not just frozen and grief sick watching history not be history, watching the music not be music. Knowing someone having the best night of her life shouted, "This is my favorite song." And then a drumbeat lifted, a rifle over the bathroom stall, and emptied a magazine into the kidneys of a grown man texting, "Mommy, I'm gonna die." His handprints and blood on the walls reaching for people dying in the fetal position, people covered in their friend's blood, crying too hard to hide from their own deaths. People outside pushing bandanas into bullet wounds. It's true what they say about the gays being so fashionable. Our ghosts never go out of style. Even life is like a funeral practice. Half of us already dead to our families before we die. Half of us still on our knees, trying to crawl into the family photo. That night on stage, I kept remembering being 15 at Disney World, wearing my best friend's hoodie like it was my boyfriend's class ring. How many years it took me to just touch her face. How many years of praying my heart could play dead until the threat was gone, until the world was changed, until history was history. But history just keeps coming, for the high keeps shooting up bodies, keeps drumming up reasons to have metal detectors at poetry readings, where the poems feel like unanswered calls to people who claim they're God or their apathy is unwilling to accept the charges. Dear God, how broke do you have to be to not buy people time to get out the door when the song goes to fucking hell? When this world, drunk on hate, decides blood is wine and drinks its fill in the only place they ever thought was safe, in the only place they thought they didn't have to hide, in the only place they were wanted because of who they loved and how they loved and how they loved, until someone walked through their bodies and asked anyone who was still alive, and hardly anyone put their hand up.
Every time I hear that poem, it's like really, really powerful.
I'm like tearing up from having read it. Every time I hear it or read it, there like tears come to my eyes. It's just one of those fucking pieces.
Yeah, God.
And it really makes you see it and like envision it really, yeah, vividly.
Thank you for reading it. It was beautifully read.
You're welcome. Does anyone have something a little less of a bummer to go? No.
I have something.
Sorry, no, I was thinking about, I had, yeah, I mean, you know how I love Andrea Gibson as well, but like, I had the same response because around that time was like a Pride event here in Glasgow. And like, I definitely had the same thing of like sitting at a table, just looking at all these people having a wonderful night and being like, cool, hope they don't get murdered. Hope we don't get murdered. Sorry.
That's okay. I think that's a very relatable moment for what was going on. I think a lot of us went to go spend time with queer friends and then had that moment of holy shit, like is one of us going to be somewhere having a good time and get shot, you know? Yeah.
I know that Rory has a depressing poem. Do you want a
I don't-
slight uplift before another depressing one?
To be clear, I don't have to read the depressing poem as well if people have kind of had their fill. That is okay.
I also have a slightly uplifting one, but maybe if we've got more depressing ones, I can read later.
Yeah, maybe we could do like uplifting, depressing, uplifting, and have like a bit of sandwich going on.
Emotional roller coaster.
Yeah.
Do we
A
want to keep
deliberate
going?
emotional.
Do we want to keep going with the depressing ones and then we can have a couple of uplifting ones afterwards? Does that sound like a better idea?
Yeah.
As long as we end on an uplifting one, it's good.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, in that case, so this one is by one of my favorite New Zealand poets, James K. Baxter, who was my mum knew him actually. He was a really devout, like radical Catholic. I think you can tell that from this poem. The word D is used in here, which is slang for like a prison officer.
It's called the Maori Jesus. I saw the Maori Jesus walking on Wellington Harbour. He wore blue dungarees. His beard and hair were long. His breath smelled of mussels and paraura. When he smiled, it looked like the dawn. When he broke wind, the little fishes trembled. When he frowned, the ground shook. When he laughed, everybody got drunk. The Maori Jesus came on shore and picked out his 12 disciples. One cleaned toilets in the railway station. His hands were scrubbed red to get shit out of the pores. One was a call girl who turned it up for nothing. One was a housewife who'd forgotten the pill and stuck her TV set in the rubbish can. One was a little office clerk who tried to set fire to the government buildings. Yes, and there were several others. One was a sad old queen. One was an alcoholic priest going slowly mad in a respectable parish. The Maori Jesus said, "Man, from now on the sun will shine." He did no miracles. He played the guitar sitting on the ground. The first day, he was arrested for having no lawful means of support. The second day, he was beaten up by the cops for telling a D his house was not in order. The third day, he was charged with being a Maori and given a month in Mount Crawford. The fourth day, he was sent to Pororua for telling a screw the sun would stop rising. The fifth day lasted 7 years while he worked in the asylum laundry, never out of the steam. The sixth day, he told the head doctor, "I am the light in the void. I am who I am." The seventh day, he was lobotomized. The brain of God was cut in half. On the eighth day, the sun did not rise. It did not rise the day after. God was neither alive nor dead. The darkness of the void, mountainous, mile deep, civilized darkness, sat on the earth from then till now.
I really love that.
Holy shit.
It's very human, very, very real. I love that.
That's kind of how Baxter ended up too. Like not sectioned, but like he really believed in like following the path of Christ and ended up dying of hypothermia, homeless in like a posh neighborhood because no one would let him in from the cold. Shit, sorry. Yeah.
Jesus.
Jesus, indeed.
Very good.
Thank you.
I could read my favorite poem about death, which is also very depressing, but at least you all know it because I've read it at least twice before.
Please do.
Let's have some fun, W.H. Auden. Stop all the clocks. Cut off the telephone. Prevent the dog from barking with a juicy bone. Silence the pianos, and with muffled drum, bring out the coffin. Let the mourners come. Let aeroplanes circle moaning overhead, scribbling on the sky the message, he is dead. Put crepe bows round the white necks of the public doves. Let the traffic policemen wear black cotton gloves. He was my north, my south, my east and west, my working week and my Sunday rest, my noon, my midnight, my talk, my song. I thought that love would last forever, I was wrong. The stars are not wanted now. Put out every one. Pack up the moon and dismantle the sun. Pour away the ocean and sweep up the wood. For nothing now can ever come to any good.
Oh, I love that poem. You read it very differently after having listened to death poems for a while. It evokes a new sense of emotion.
Andy, you said you had a more uplifting one.
I did. I'd probably leave the ones by Maya Angelou for some other time because they're a bit dark. Or Bracken, what is that face?
I think Bracken needs some uplifting.
Yeah, we'll go for that. And this is Do Not Stand at My Grave and Weep by Mary Elizabeth Fry. Do not stand at my grave and weep. I am not there. I do not sleep. I am 1,000 winds that blow. I am the diamond glints on snow. I am the sun on ripened grain. I am the gentle autumn rain. When you awaken in the morning's hush, I am the swift uplifting rush of quiet birds in circling flight. I am the soft starlight at night. Do not stand at my grave and cry. I am not there. I did not die.
Oh, I love that one.
That's so beautiful.
Can I sneak in one more that involves crying over a grave but has some humor in it before you give us some better feels, Bracken?
Yes.
I've
Cool.
got a couple of Liz Berry ones that are sort of a pair as well, if you want.
This is Dressing for the Burial by Danusha Lemaris. No one wants to talk about the hilarity after death. The way the week my brother shot himself. His wife and I fell on the bed laughing because she couldn't decide what to wear for the big day and asked me, do I go for sexy or Amish? I told her sexy. And we rolled around on the mattress they'd shared for 18 years, clutching our sides. Meanwhile, he lay in a narrow refrigerated drawer, soft brown curls springing from his scalp, framing his handsome face. This was back when he still had a face, and we were going to get to see it. Hold up the black skirt again, I said. She said, which one? And then she said, you look so mafia chic. And I said, thank you. And it went on until we both got tired and our ribs hurt. And now I don't even remember what we wore. Only that we both looked fabulous, weeping over that open hole in the ground.
That was awesome. So I'll do one and then Bina, you have a couple? Okay. This one is called Age by Isabel Thrilling. We should turn gold with age, like leaves, decay into the colours of antiquity in the manner of rocks and sunsets. Life, long distilled, should thin in a wineglass of bone. Vintage summers, fermenting inner fire, a hint of ice. Death would come quiet as snow, creating a landscape mythical with frost, where trees break into silver thorn, configurations of spring. I just love the language in that one.
It's so beautiful.
There's something so lush about it.
Who
I
wrote
love the
that again?
idea of like it being a cycle, right?
Yeah.
Who wrote that poem?
Oh,
I missed it, or I forgot it, or
Isabel
something.
Thrilling.
Thank you.
Robert Simpson smiling politely.
So I'll do these two. One's short. They're called Irene and Goodnight Irene. So the first one is Irene. It mizzled the night you died, but you'd already gone back to your old man's garden with your yellow frock on. In the beds, goosegogs furred, peas climbed cane wigwams. Your brother's shirts danced on the line. And you, 13 again, sensing light above, raised your hand to shade your eyes from the sun. And then, good night, Irene. Good night, Irene. I say to you, good night, as we follow the car to the cemetery, past the boarded steelworks, the temple with its glittering dome, the pubs no more than someone's front room, where faces sit like Toby jugs in the bar lights. Over the canal bridge, the Baptist chapel, still brave on the cut, baptizing the Sunday believers in boat bilge, past the marl pit, the warehouses, the Indian shop, the streets left to squatters, their pebble-dashed terraces emptied by time. We slow by the dog track, the red iron gates of the Jubilee Park, where metal horses run to the railway and canter feral past city-bound trains. Above us, your tower block sways in the wind, and the motorways loop like Cradley chain. When you were a girl, these streets shone like the coal, traipsing home with your dad from the pit's black skeleton, your hand in his pocket, close as a kiss. Now their names are music, a requiem, Darkley Lane, Snow Hill, Roseville, Wren's Nest.
That was gorgeous.
Wow.
Oh, every time, every fucking time.
Liz Berry slash
You know, you read it so beautifully. Thank you.
It's because I've stole Liz Berry's voice, but she does it better than me.
But we love you more.
Is that time then? Are we gonna call it there?
We probably should. Maybe we need to do a second death poetry time at some point.
Just before we
Two more.
I have one wee quote that was read at some point during a poetry time that I really liked. So I'd like to reread it if it's okay with you guys. It's not a poem, it's a quote by Andrian, the person who was the wife of Carl Sagan. Okay. When my husband died, because he was so famous and known for not being a believer, many people would come up to me. It still sometimes happens, and ask me if Carl changed at the end and converted to a belief in an afterlife. They also frequently ask me if I think I will see him again. Carl faced his death with unflagging courage and never sought refuge in illusions. The tragedy was that we knew we would never see each other again. I don't ever expect to be reunited with Carl, but the great thing is that when we were together for nearly 20 years, we lived with a vivid appreciation of how brief and precious life is. We never trivialized the meaning of death by pretending it was anything other than a final parting. Every single moment that we were alive, we were together, was miraculous. Not miraculous in the sense of inexplicable or supernatural. We knew we were beneficiaries of chance. That pure chance could be so generous and so kind, that we could find each other, as Carl wrote so beautifully in Cosmos, you know, in the vastness of space and the immensity of time, that we could be together for 20 years. That is something which sustains me and is much more meaningful. The way he treated me and the way I treated him, the way we took care of each other and our family while he lived, that is so much more important than the idea that I will see him someday. I don't think I'll ever see Carl again, but I saw him. We saw each other. We found each other in the cosmos, and that was wonderful.
Oh,
Oh, I'm so glad you brought that.
beautiful.
Oh, Rory, can you give them an extra squish from the rest of us?
A squish for each of us.
After poetry time is over, I'm going to go and demand the same from Alan. Be like, it's not time to be killing things on the whatever game thing. It's time to just be giving me all the hugs now.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to like cuddle Raj so hard after this. There were a few times where just like, oh God, imagine just death in the worst possible way, and you just start crying because you just can't. Nope.
I'm amazed we've got through this. To be fair, when I was thinking about what poems to bring, I read a whole load of this, which I haven't even read from today, and like had just a total like sobbing meltdown. So kept it together today.
So what you're saying is
Yay.
you deliberately didn't bring us the sobbing meltdown.
No, I just never felt like there was a point to go there. But I do recommend the collection if people are for very sad things. It's a whole collection about slowly losing his wife to cancer.
Nope.
So no.
Feel free to devastate us with that another time.
Yes. Yeah.
If it helps lighten the mood, I'm not going to read it, obviously, but fun fact, you can set pretty much any Emily Dickinson poem to the Pokemon theme, and that includes Because I Could Not Stop for Death.
Hey, wait. Should I grab an Emily Dickinson book and try this immediately?
Oh, don't you worry, Luke. Hey, tell you what. Da, 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 because I could not stop for death. Do, 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 kindly stop for me. Do, do, do. We can't help but just ourselves and immortality. Do, do, do. We slowly drove, he knew no haste. I had put away my labor and my leisure too for his civility. And then it goes on and on. But yeah.
Wow.
Someone right. Gotta catch them all.
I'm so glad we recorded that.
That was amazing.
And on that note, should we say goodbye to the catch-up crew? Catch-up crew, we hope you made it through and that you're well hydrated and that you decide to put random things to the Pokemon theme tune if that would make you feel good. Does anyone
Go
else
and
have good advice?
Yeah, go and demand many, many hugs from whoever is nearest, frankly.
Good advice.
Goodbye, catch-up crew. We love you.
Prince.